We've all felt emotion. We know what it feels like. We know other people can experience emotion, they show it in their face or body, or they can even just tell us what they're feeling. We know some emotions are basic and innate, like Ekman's core emotions, found and understood in completely isolated and native populations. But what about animals? Do they experience emotions? And if so, do they experience them in a way that we do? Now, of course, you'll say, yes, animals experience emotions. I've seen a cat get angry and hiss. I've seen a dog happy to see its friend. I've seen that one video of a raccoon trying to wash its fairy floss. Yes, obviously animals have emotions. But how do we know what their emotions are, especially if they can't tell us yet? Instead, we have to rely on certain visual cues and neurobiological cues. Today we have people like Panksepp, who suggest that animals show emotion through emotionally driven actions. But the first person to seemingly examine this topic academically was Charles Darwin, in his book The Expression of the Emotions in Man and Animals. Darwin suggested that at least several species of animals experience and display emotions in a way similar to humans. Darwin, being Darwin, of course, suggested that emotions are a survival tool created through years of evolution. So let's look at emotion in animals through this evolutionary perspective. Naturally, when talking about evolution, we have two major areas to look at: non-human primates, our very close relatives, and dogs, which we have essentially evolved ourselves through generations of domestication and breeding. Now, unsurprisingly, primates are quite close to humans in a variety of ways, including emotional. While they are not the only animals to do so, primates show empathy and sympathy in a remarkably similar way to humans. Their mirror neurons and release of oxytocins react very similarly to ours. Most interestingly is the left gaze bias. Found exclusively in primates, including humans, the left gaze bias is the tendency to examine the left visual hemisphere more closely than the right, particularly when interpreting emotional stimuli of another person's face. Moreover, the right side of someone's face is typically more expressive, though often in a barely imperceptible way. This has been suggested to be a result of asymmetrical localization of the brain, but an evolutionary perspective says that this can show the potential of emotion. It is possible that each species or order has their own conventions of emotion and communication to display to each other in a way that other animals don't understand, clearly displaying emotion to each other, but not to potential predators or prey. Now, I did say that the left gaze bias is exclusive to primates, but that is not entirely true. Interestingly, part of the bias is found in dogs, but only parts. Dogs do not seem to share the asymmetrical facial expressions of primates when displaying emotion, but they do examine the left visual hemisphere more often than the right, though not for other dogs, only for primates. It seems that through generations of cohabitating with humans, dogs have noticed this slight asymmetry and have adapted. Evolutionarily, being able to read other emotions more accurately is an amazing tool. Given that humans often seem to care for, protect, and feed dogs, they may have begun to understand human emotions better, potentially as a way of maximizing the reward received from humans when they're happy, or seeing when a human is upset and avoiding them or caring for them, all in a way to create more comfort for themselves. Through examining animals so closely linked to humans through evolutionary reasons, we can see that emotion seems to be necessary for survival in some animals, potentially dictating social structure, receival of sustenance and warmth, monitoring threats, and more. While the use of tools is what separates us from animals, it is emotion that makes us animals in the first place, but that's not a bad thing.